a spike. India must prioritize vaccines to states and districts that are at greatest infection risk. India on September 17 administered a record 2.5 crore vaccine shots, which an ebullient health ministry said was the equivalent of the populations of the whole of Australia, 2/3 of Canada and 5 times that of New Zealand. The only other comparison would be China's pace of vaccination, 2.47 crore shots on a single day. Thus, 2.5 crore means 62% Indian adults have now got at least one dose and 1 in 5 fully inoculated. Friday's drive was part of a concerted push by BJP-ruled states to boost vaccination numbers as a birthday gift to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But to encourage a behavioral nudge when supply is abundant and demand is not commensurate, as in the US, and have a marked supply shortage even as vaccine production continues, as in India, are two different things. Bharat Biotech was supposed to be supplying 6 to 7 crore doses a month from July to August and 10 crore doses a month from September, according to a Department of Biotechnology statement in April. This would mean at least 52 crore doses from July to December, of which 40 crore is to be supplied from September to December. Since the vaccination drive began, only 9 crore doses of Covaxin have been administered as of last week, at least 3 crore short. Several cabinet ministers, in summer, had boasted that India would inoculate its adult population, about 94 crore, by the year end. This will require over 185 crore doses, or close to 1 crore inoculations a day. India has now crossed the 80 crore mark. Before the birthday drive, India's most recent 7-day average was 0.6 to 0.7 crore. Bihar, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat, which saw among the highest vaccination spikes on September 17, delivered 6 to 10 times their previous 7-day average. India is once again on a downswing as far as daily coronavirus numbers go, but at close to 30,000 cases a day is nowhere near the all-time low of nearly 10,000 daily cases in February, which preceded the catastrophic second wave. The globally most prevalent Delta variant may have already washed over large swathes of India, but waning immunity and the emergence of variants capable of immune escape are thriving too. With educational institutions set to open in a big way during the winter and crores of unvaccinated children vulnerable, the imperative should be to boost daily supplies. India is lucky that there is so far no discernible vaccine skepticism and hesitancy, and it has only to really bother with producing and delivering the jab painlessly. Instead of positioning vaccine drives as opportunities to set vacuous records, the center must prioritize vaccines to states and districts that are at greatest infection risk and follow up with vaccine makers to speed up and make good on their commitments. France knew of Australia's grave concerns. Morrison says submarine deal was scrapped as it wouldn't meet Canberra's interests in the Indo-Pacific. Associated Press, Canberra. France would have known Australia had deep and grave concerns that a submarine fleet the French were building would not meet Australian needs, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on Sunday after the contract's cancellation set off a diplomatic crisis. France accused Australia of concealing its intentions to back out of the $90 billion Australian dollar, $66 billion contract for French majority state-owned naval group to build 12 conventional diesel-electric submarines. President Joe Biden revealed last week a new alliance, including Australia and Britain, that would deliver an Australian fleet of at least 8 nuclear-powered submarines. Mr. Morrison blamed the switch on a deteriorating strategic environment in the Indo-Pacific. He has not specifically referred to China's massive military build-up, which has gained pace in recent years. The capability that the attack-class submarines were going to provide was not what Australia needed to protect our sovereign interests, Mr. Morrison said. They would have had every reason to know that we have deep and grave concerns that the capability being delivered by the attack-class submarine was not going to meet our strategic interests, and we have made very clear that we would be making a decision based on our strategic national interest, he added, referring to the French government. Mr. Morrison has said the contract cancellation will cost his government at least $1.7 billion. France responded to the contract cancellation by recalling its ambassadors from Australia and the US. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian on Saturday denounced what he called the duplicity disdain and lies surrounding the sudden end of the contract and said France was now questioning the strength of the alliance. China has denounced the sharing of such US and British nuclear technology as irresponsible. France won the contract in 2016 over offers from Germany and Japan. Taliban-run Kabul government tells women workers to stay home. Those who can't be replaced by men can work, says Mayor. Associated Press Kabul. Women employees in the Kabul city government have been told to stay home, with work only allowed for those who cannot be replaced by men, the interim mayor of Afghanistan's capital said on Sunday. The decision to prevent most women city workers from returning to their jobs is another sign that the Taliban are going back on their promises that they would be tolerant and inclusive. In their previous rule in the 1990s, the Taliban had barred girls and women from schools, jobs and public life. In recent days, the new Taliban government issued several decrees rolling back the rights of women. It told women middle and high school students that they could not return to school. On Friday, the Taliban shut down the Women's Affairs Ministry, replacing it with the Ministry for the Propagation of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice. On Sunday, over a dozen women staged a protest outside the ministry, holding up signs calling for the participation of women in public life. A society in which women are not active is sick, dead society, one sign read. The protest lasted for about 10 minutes. After a short verbal confrontation with the man, the women got into cars and left. Interim Kabul Mayor Hamdullah Nimoni said the women employees have been ordered to stay home, pending a further decision. He said exceptions were made for women who could not be replaced by men, including some in the design and engineering departments and the attendance of public toilets for women. Nimoni did not say how many women employees were forced to stay home. Meanwhile, in Jalalabad, witnesses said an explosion targeted a Taliban vehicle. Hospital officials said 5 people were killed in the second such deadly blast in as many days in the Islamic State stronghold. Punjab gets its first Dalit Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi. The former minister, close to State Congress Chief Sidhu, will take oath today. Vikas Vasudeva Chandigarh. The All India Congress Committee, AICC, on Sunday announced 49-year-old Charanjit Singh Channi as the leader of the Punjab Congress Legislature Party, CLP. He will be the state's new chief minister. AICC in charge of Punjab affairs Harish Rawat announced the name of the new CLP leader on Twitter. It gives me immense pleasure to announce that #Charanjit Singh Channi has been unanimously elected as the leader of the Congress Legislature Party of Punjab, he said. Soon after being elected CLP leader, Mr. Channi and other leaders met Punjab Governor Banwari Lal Purohit to stake claim to form the new government. After the Congress Legislature Party's unanimous decision, we met the governor and presented our claim to form the government. Governor has assigned a time slot of 11 a.m. on Monday for the oath-taking ceremony, said Mr. Channi, who is set to become the first Dalit Chief Minister of Punjab. Mr. Channi, a close aide of State Congress President Navjot Singh Sidhu, was among the cabinet ministers in the outgoing government who rebelled against Chief Minister Captain Amarinder Singh, saying the latter had not fulfilled the party's 2017 election promises. Poll calculus. The Congress decision of choosing Mr. Channi is being seen as an attempt to win over the Dalit votes ahead of the assembly poll due in early 2022. In Punjab, which has the highest percentage of Dalit population among the states, close to 32%, political parties have been making all-out efforts to garner their support. The Shiromani Akali Dal, SAD, has already announced that if voted to power, the Deputy Chief Minister would be from the Dalit community. Mr. Channi's announcement came after AICC-appointed observers Harish Chaudhry and Ajay Mekam, and Punjab Affairs in charge Harish Rawat held hectic meetings in Chandigarh with party leaders and collected feedback from MLAs ahead of shortlisting the name of the CLP leader. During the meeting, the name of senior Congress leader Sukhjinder Randhawa was at the forefront. However, it is learnt that Mr. Sidhu strongly batted for Mr. Channi.